On this edition of Southern Newsweek, 4 albatross eggs go missing from Dunedin's Royal Albatross colony with workers suspecting foul play. Southerners commemorate the end of World War I again on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And medical specialists were in Queenstown recently getting hands-on training with the latest life-saving equipment. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Hannah Wilkins. Staff at Dunedin's Royal Albatross colony on Otago Peninsula are devastated by the disappearance of 4 albatross eggs. Those in charge of protecting the endangered birds are at a loss to explain the bizarre theft, but suspect foul play could be involved.
Dock staff giving a quick health check to newly laid eggs from a northern royal albatross nest at Pukekura, Tairoa Head. Every aspect of the breeding birds is carefully logged and monitored here on the Otago Peninsula by a team of conservation experts, and the wildlife sanctuary is well fenced off. So when 4 newly laid eggs disappeared from their nests late last week, it came as a huge shock to staff.
Dock rangers came and did their normal round on Thursday morning to find 4 of the albatross eggs, which are quite large, so 4 eggs are not going to disappear into someone's pocket easily. Staff
at the colony are examining security camera footage for clues, but say the fact that the eggs disappeared without a trace makes predator attack unlikely. The stolen eggs also have a poor chance of survival, making the theft a real setback for conservation efforts.
A real concern going into what we were hoping to be the best breeding season on record for the albatross here at Pukekura.
The team say the fragile eggs would be unlikely to find a resale market, making the motive even more baffling. They're encouraging anyone with information about the missing eggs to contact the Department of Conservation. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The West Otago town of Lawrence is being described as a peach ripe for the picking, with plans being hatched to add more housing. The local community board is taking inspiration from a successful development model not far down the road in Kaitangata.
The former gold mining town of Lawrence is being compared to an oasis in the region and ripe for development. The Lawrence Tuapeka Community Board is set to consider the idea of a Lawrence Tuapeka house and land package. It's a proposal which could bring some housing to the town, boosting the area and wider Clutha district.
We were approached by Clutha Development to see if we were interested in a housing development a bit like the Kaitangata model. So we felt it was worthy of consideration, and I brought it up to go on the agenda of our community board meeting.
The Kai Build campaign in Kaitangata back in 2016 aimed at attracting people to the small town. It was picked up by international media and led to the development of 10 new residential properties. Davidson believes Lawrence is positioned like a hub, or at least a solid spoke of a wagon wheel in the region. He says local builders are ready, willing and able, with recent properties built for rental quickly snapped up. And there's confidence a nearly $5 million attraction being developed nearby, centred around the Gabriel's Gully gold find, will also help bring people to the region. In Lawrence, the South Today.
Crowds gathered around the country recently to commemorate the end of World War I. From Invercargill to Queenstown and Dunedin, local military arms paid their respects to the fallen.
A loud £25 gun salute marking this year's Armistice Day at Dunedin's Queen's Gardens. Crowds of military personnel gathered around the cenotaph to remember the day in 1918 when the First World War finally ended. Wreaths were laid and Dunedin's RSA choir sang the national anthem. Speeches were given, drawing comparisons to today's wars.
It was a very moving ceremony. Retired Police Commissioner Howard Broad gave a very good speech, very informative speech of New Zealand's role in World War I and World War II, but also in modern conflicts around peacekeeping.
Ceremonies were also held around the South, young and old lining up in front of the South Invercargill War Memorial to give their salutes of respect. Meanwhile in Queenstown, bagpipes rang out and flags were flown at half-mast for the 11th hour of the 11th day. Across the South Today.
Unmarked graves of a small historic site in Southland now finally have headstones thanks to the efforts of a local community trust. The project was part of a $65,000 upgrade of the Pukaro Cemetery near Gore.
A solemn moment as guests from around the country and overseas are welcomed onto the historic cemetery at Pukarau, 15 kilometres east of Gore. The celebration marked the end of a 6-year community effort to upgrade the site, including memorial stones, a new kiosk and information panels. More than 200 people attended the unveiling ceremony, including many direct descendants of early settlers buried at the site.
To have families from the unmarked graves, which are now rest with a granite headstone, and great-grandchildren of those people have honoured that.
The event was also celebrated by people with strong connections to the community, including former Prime Minister Dame Jenny Shipley.
I was born in Pukarau and I left as a young baby, but the family has always had a deep connection.
The trust responsible for overseeing the restoration said the cemetery seen an increase in visitors thanks to a renewed interest in ancestry. In Gore, the South Today.
Medical specialists from around the world met in Queenstown last week to take part in a hands-on training using the latest life-saving equipment. The symposium focused on ECMO, artificial heart and lung technology that supports patients in severe cardiac arrest, and experts say it's vital ECMOs available in the south.
Teams of intensive care specialists competing to revive an avalanche victim with emergency life support machines during a training exercise in Queenstown. Extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, known as ECMO, allows a machine to take over the functions of the heart and lungs to circulate and oxygenate blood. Today's scenario is only a simulation, but experts say the technique has the potential to save lives across the south.
We have patients who are in an avalanche or who are in a capsized boat and have like hypothermic cardiac arrest, who rest with very low body temperatures, and we know that these machines are absolutely life-saving.
Currently, ECMO expertise is centred on Auckland, but symposium organisers hope that by training locals alongside international experts, they can improve response times.
It's not applied very much outside of a specialty centre. So what this 2 days has been about is a collaboration of people to extend the scope.
The symposium brought together 30 local medical professionals and 12 overseas experts. Organisers say access to ECMO is expanding in New Zealand and coordinating between regions is critical to improve care. In Queenstown, the South Today.
New homes are being built on behalf of the New Zealand Olympic Committee to help Kiwi athletes reach their dreams. The first of 4 homes were unveiled in Christchurch recently, with profits helping send the New Zealand team to the Paris Olympics.
It takes talent and determination to become an Olympic champion, but finding the funds to get to the Games takes a different type of skill. The New Zealand Olympic Committee has the job of providing these funds and has announced a new funding stream. It's partnered with home building company Genian Homes to help assist New Zealand athletes in getting to the Paris Olympic Games in 2024.
This is a really special day for us because this is the first Olympic home that we've built with Genian Homes.
Each home will be acquired by the Olympic Committee and then sold, with profits helping fund the team to Paris.
We talked about how do we create the most value for each other, and one of the things that Richard, one of the owners, said is, well, why don't we build homes together? I thought it was a brilliant idea. I thought it was something that I'm disappointed we hadn't thought of earlier.
A couple of Olympic athletes were on hand to celebrate the announcement. High jumper Hamish Kerr welcomes any assistance in helping high-performance athletes achieve their dreams.
It costs money, it costs a lot of money, and so to have amazing partners like Genian Homes to do cool things like this for the campaign, it really, really adds value, and it's very essential.
And cross-country mountain bike rider Anton Cooper says having the support of businesses through innovative projects like this is vital.
We don't work a regular job, it's often not salary based for a lot of athletes, and we rely on funding through high performance sport, through the NZOC.
It's the first of 4 Genian Olympic homes to be built in the lead up to the Paris Olympics, with the aim of helping more Kiwi athletes compete at the world's biggest games. In Christchurch, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, Invercargill's Anderson House officially opens to the public after years of having its doors firmly shut. And an annual birthday festival with a slight twist this year as musicians aim to bring awareness to a public issue. Tēnā koe, welcome back. Invercargill's Anderson House has been reopened after shutting its doors 8 years ago. The great-great-grandchildren of Robert Anderson say it's emotional finally seeing the house brought back to life.
Declared open again. After 8 years of earthquake strengthening, Invercargill's historic Anderson House was reopened to the public. The house was built by Sir Robert Anderson in 1925 and was given to Invercargill by the family in 1951 to serve as the city's art gallery. But it's now open as an all-purpose venue for the community.
It'll be available for people to hire for functions, from anything from birthdays to weddings, family occasions, small business conferences, etc.
Anderson family members were on hand to witness their ancestral home being re-gifted to the city. Robert Anderson was named after his great-great-grandfather and says he feels his family's spirit.
Oh, well, it's a very exciting day to get the house back open to the general public and on display as it was meant to after it was gifted to the city of Invercargill.
Locals will once again be able to walk along the Anderson House halls and visit its rooms, with people able to hire the building for events and functions. In Invercargill, the South Today.
Tens of thousands of Cantabrians have been enjoying the region's New Zealand A&P show recently. Show weeks also attracted people from across the country to compete in events and stage crowd-pleasing activities like duck herding.
Herding ducks with the help of a four-legged friend. Sheepdog Charm leading the charge at this quirky event, one of a range of activities entertaining the crowds at this year's 3-day New Zealand A&P show. Blenheim farmer Donald Stewart has been staging his duck herding show along with his Indian ducks for more than 30 years.
An old fella told me once when I had no sheep, and he gave me a pup, and I said, I've got no sheep. And I said, use your ducks like that, and so I did, and it's worked. They seem to like that.
Down the slide he goes. Look at that. 5 of them. Well done, Donnie. Give him a big hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Stewart's among the thousands of out-of-towners who have come to Christchurch from across the country and as far away as Perth for the biggest A&P show of the year. The sport of wood chopping was another old favourite for visitors as athletes tore into their logs with gusto.
All lined up. Some of them round to that second side already.
Oh, could have gone better. Like, got a couple of prude knots in there and broken axe, so it is what it is, you know, it happens.
Sunny weather helped bring out the crowds, a welcome sight for the organisers, after COVID put the big show under severe financial pressure. And events like these dog trials giving the tens of thousands of city visitors a little taste of what life is like on the farm for the rural community. In Christchurch, the South Today.
A desire to fight plans for a new landfill in Dunedin has changed an annual birthday celebration into a fully fledged music festival headlined by reggae group The Black Seeds. Lobo Fest is a backyard festival run by Ed and Michelle Lobo at their Brighton home, but next year's event is being scaled up.
What began about a decade ago as a joint birthday party with a few friends' bands playing songs has now grown into a fully fledged music festival called Lobo Fest.
It's happened over 8 years. Initially started as a small birthday party, and it became bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's become a festival.
Ed and Michelle Lobo's February birthdays are just a few days apart, which led to the idea of having a combined party. Now their next Lobo Fest celebration is set to be considerably bigger, with Kiwi reggae-inspired band The Black Seeds jetting in to play the show.
Obviously, The Black Seeds, we always sell out, but we're pretty sure this time we really are going to sell out.
Each year the festival has also been a fundraiser for a cause the couple believes in. This time the Brighton residents want to put profits from the event towards appealing the Dunedin City Council's consent to build a new landfill at Smooth Hill. Ed Lobo is hoping to raise around $10,000 toward the legal fees of around $69,000. The lineup is expected to be popular. There are only around 600 tickets available for next February's show. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A rusted bus, which sat in a paddock for 15 years, has finally found its way home, to the delight of its former owner. For new Dunedin councillor Mandy Mayhem, it's a case of one person's trash is another's treasure.
Mandy Mayhem taking a drive down memory lane in a rusted Bedford house bus on the side of the road north of Dunedin. She says the bus played a huge role in her life.
I lived in the bus for 5 years, and when I left the circus when I was 30, I put all my worldly goods in the bus and I transported it back down here.
She inherited the bus from her deceased partner, but a change in life circumstances prompted her to sell the bus when she settled in the community of Waitati.
So I sold it and immediately regretted it and tried several times to buy it back, and lo and behold, the opportunity came up.
The surprise reunion happened when the bus was bought by nearby Warrington residents, who recognised Mayhem from old photographs still hanging inside. She says the chance of the bus ever seeing the road again is low.
Oh, I think it'll just be a sleep out. You know, we'll park it in the driveway, have it as a spare room for the kids in the summer.
Mayhem says tidying up the bus will keep her busy over the Christmas break. In Dunedin, the South Today.
There were plenty of thrills and a few spills last weekend at the first round of the Hydro Thunder boat racing series at Glendhu Bay. The event saw high-performance powerboats take to Lake Wanaka over the weekend, reaching speeds of well over 200 kilometres an hour.
A heart-stopping moment on Lake Wanaka as a high-speed powerboat launches into the air. Raymond Hart of New Brighton managing to bring his GP hydroplane Thunderstruck back under control with no injury after launching off the wake of a competitor's boat at the Hydro Thunder New Zealand Champs. It's a sport that requires split-second reflexes.
The big boat here can do 260, 270 k's, and as long as the boat's sitting flat you can corner at that speed, so the adrenaline and the face trying to fall off and everything that's happening, it's pretty cool.
But he admits, with all that horsepower on tap, safety is always a top concern.
Oh, there's dangers of motorsport, anything crashing, you can hurt yourself, but we've got everything in our favour as much as we can. So we've got roll cages and full safety capsule, 5-point racing harness, air.
The combination of high-octane racing and peaceful lakeside surroundings proved popular with the spectators over the 2 days, with the event being held at Glendhu Bay for the first time.
It's always a good family day out too, like wherever we go. It's usually the weather's quite magic, and yeah, bring a picnic and come and see what happens and feel the noise. It's a pretty cool place.
But it's going to be all about David Alexander as he comes around the bottom bend.
David Alexander and the Miss Waverley team winning both the A.E. Baker Cup and the Massport Cup, as well as taking out round 1 of the Hydro Thunder series. The event resumes in Mangakino in early December for the next round of the 5-race series to decide the New Zealand champion. In Wanaka, the South Today.
After the break, on Southern Newsweek, drivers around the south test their skills in vehicle suspension in a muddy 4-wheel drive competition. In Christchurch, football fans score the chance to meet the team as the country looks towards next year's World Cup. Tēnā koe, welcome back. Drivers took to the farm in Pukaro last Saturday for this year's Southern Trailblazers 4-wheel drive club rally. At the inaugural event 40 years ago, Doug Christie drove a rescue tractor to tow out stuck vehicles, but ended up needing help himself. These days he's an integral part of the club and was impressed with this year's driver talent.
There were 10 assorted hazards set out for competitors at the 40th annual Southern Trailblazers 4-wheel drive club rally, including mud patches and hill climbs. This well-designed piece of water torture claiming many victims at the Hellier farm near Pukaro over the weekend.
I'd say this year is probably the biggest
number of entrants we've had for a very long time.
Four-wheel drive vehicles of all shapes and sizes with varying levels of modification took to the course. Doug Christie's been part of proceedings throughout the events for decades and was pleased with competitors coming from across the South Island to take part in the anniversary event.
There's one truck here from Nelson. I think there's some guys from Christchurch here, so they're from all over, and the sport can be as cheap as you want it or as expensive as you want it.
There were 4 different classes, from farm hacks through to modified vehicles. Entrants can choose to attach grip enhancers, like chains or tractor grips, to their wheels. Along with the fun of driving the rugged course, there were trophies up for grabs for those who incurred the fewest penalties over the course of the event. At Pukero, the South Today.
An ambitious 5-year redevelopment project at Balclutha's Centennial Park reached a milestone last weekend. A party in the park was held to mark the completion of stage 1 of work, with the new facilities already proving to be a hit.
More than 400 people turned out for a party in Balclutha's Centennial Park on Saturday. Many locals were excited to check out the new playground and other features from the recent redevelopment project. In Clutha District Mayor Brian Cadogan was keen to give the new barbecues a test drive.
I just think it's magnificent. I take my hat off to the team here that have done so much work for it, and we've now got a base that we can be so proud of.
The main event was the Night and Day Rainbow Run, which saw an impressive crowd of all ages race around the 5-kilometre course.
Hello, we are Shan Thompson and we are the green station for the Balclutha Rainbow Run today. That means we get to throw all of this fun green powder all over everyone running through our station.
There's more improvements to come. Stage 2 of the redevelopment is currently in the design phase. It's expected to include an expansion of the playground and the addition of basketball courts and a bike track. In Balclutha, the South Today.
The Black Ferns weren't the only national women's team in action last weekend. The Football Ferns squared off against South Korea in the first game of a 2-match series. They're building towards next year's FIFA Women's World Cup and are keen to emulate the success of their oval ball colleagues.
Excited young footballers eagerly lining up to get an autograph from their sporting idols. The Football Ferns arrived in Christchurch last week for 2 international friendlies against South Korea. They're the team's first games on New Zealand soil in 4 years, and the first time they've played in Christchurch in more than 30 years.
A really exciting time to bring our national teams home. They'll be playing a lot more at home. It's brilliant as well to have them in Christchurch, where so many of them began.
New Zealand and Australia will be jointly hosting the FIFA's Women's World Cup next July. The national team happy to take time out from their schedule to meet a few of their fans.
You will make it easier for future football ferns. You've got some people here that are going to aspire to be ferns, and so they look to you to be their role models.
However, it wasn't a dream return home for the Football Ferns in their first outing. The girls going down 1-0 on Saturday to the higher-ranked South Korean team. New Zealand's best chance came in the 80th minute when Liz Chance hit the woodwork.
Who wants it? Who's going to have a go? Shot now for Chance. Can she get the ball away? Oh, it hit the post!
The Football Ferns still have a chance to level the series in their second game tonight. A win would build public confidence and help them get on track ahead of next year's World Cup at home. In Christchurch, the South Today.
Christchurch's city centre has welcomed back a popular public art show featuring the work of local and international artists. Artists for this summer's Scape Festival were given free range to create innovative works for displays across the city.
Riding high, this 1.5-tonne sedan, suspended 7 metres in the air, is on an empty site in central Christchurch. The hoisted 1986 Mitsubishi Debonair V3000 Royal is a piece by Auckland artist Eddie Clemens, one of 8 temporary artworks created for this year's Scape public art season. Clemens says the inspiration for the piece came from a scene in the Danish TV drama The Killing.
And in the first episode in season 1, they pull out a car from a river and you see it for a split second full of water, and then all the water cascading out of it when it's fully lifted up.
His artwork, called Cognitive Reorientation, has been installed within the earthquake-shattered basement of the old Price Waterhouse Coopers building. A number of Christchurch businesses are on board with public art projects and have been helping Clemens realise his vision. And the Executive Director of Skate Public Art, Deborah McCormick, says she's really excited about the project.
It brings together the know-how, can-do, innovation and expertise of industry with the artist's imagination.
Clemens says his piece aims to explore the way in which crime dramas are formulated and the way clues are dropped to give viewers a sense of what's taken place.
There's the major clue that's revealed, in this case, the car getting pulled out of the water, and that's, maybe some sort of representation of, the heavy lifting, the cognitive heavy lifting of what's going on.
The challenge is to see whether the public will understand the artistic message behind the striking visuals, with the vehicle held in the air by a custom-built steel structure.
I think it's really cool. It's quite creative. It's quite an interesting use of, I guess, something that's not being used anymore, kind of recycling to make some art. I think it's quite cool.
Skate's public art season runs until the end of January next year. In Christchurch, the South Today.
That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news and videos from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. We'll see you again next week. Mā te wā.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.